Around a year or two ago, me and my friends noticed this anomaly with my copy of the source engine. It all started when we started to notice that my games tended to crash quite unusually. These crashes included a lot of visual distortions, a lot of weird, just unexpected freezes for no reason. I thought it might have been from like my old PC, but no, something was very wrong here. I decided to monitor what was going on with my games for the most part, and I found something that was, I consider, pretty interesting. An app. An app was running all the time when I was playing a source game. It's called pat.sdk, and for some reason one day it just appeared. It is responsible for eating up my CPU and RAM until the game crashes. And having no other choice, I decided to investigate it. Luckily, that yielded nothing. There were no documentations left online of this app. No anything at all, actually. So that's where I left it. I didn't really think that it was really necessary to continue investigating such a minor thing. Well, at least I didn't think until now. The crashes mostly stopped after that. I just try to move on. But they've started again. The app, it's here. And now there is a result on the Google page. Alright, so I didn't get to mention why I started making these updates. In light of recent developments, I'll just say it now. I want to document this. I haven't found any other source of information online about this aside from, well, yesterday's discovery. I've made some progress since yesterday, speaking of it. Not a lot, but I think it's worth mentioning. First of all, on the online side, I found a download link to a video. It's short, was titled Voidfall Tutorial. It doesn't have lots of edits in it, and since it's so short, I'll just play it here. Next, I took a look at what happens in-game. Opening the app from Task Manager, you're greeted with a dark screen. Overlay with the following. Attention user. Access to the following is prohibited unless an admin key or a valid user key is provided at. But what caught my eye was what happened if you kept both Hammer and the app on. See that trigger? Look at what happens if I close the app. My immediate thought was to try and trigger something, but it didn't yield anything. Nothing seemed to work to trigger it. I tried playing sounds, moving objects, and what made it even worse was the fact that it had no properties or any clues as to what it might be in Hammer. It was just a blank slate. Hey, I made some big progress. First of all, I know what a trigger does. At least, I kinda know. It's a bit complicated and I'm not sure if this is exactly how you're supposed to interact with it, but I'll try explaining it anyway. So, from the second you boot up the map with the app open, a trigger spawns somewhere on it. Trigger position stays consistent on each map. From then on, you have to be inside it and perform certain actions in order to yield a response. What exactly you have to do, I am not sure, but I have found a couple of other details about it. For example, from the second you touch the trigger, a 20-minute countdown is initiated on the server. If the countdown reaches 0, without the action being correct and successfully completed, the game crashes, soliciting reaction from pad.sdk. If you fail to input the correct actions on your 10th attempt, the same reaction occurs, except instead of crashing your game, the server is killed through console. Another interesting thing about this cycle is that the trigger only spawns before 22:00 and after 10:00. As discussed earlier, the trigger stays active from 22:00 to 10:00, but what happens past that hour mostly remains a mystery. I have made some attempts to try and use them past this time, but pad.sdk simply kicks the player with an error message. However, this is where I think they made a little screw up, because looking in the console of the source game that you open, you see this, a failed command. And of course, as you can tell, this is not like any source engine command. Well, ever. It's weirdly formatted, has a colon before it, plus we can actually see the command. So we can just take it, and since it doesn't work on source, how about we plop it into pad.sdk? So, I have been playing some Half-Life 2 recently, and I picked up one of the radios, and look at what happened. For those who don't know, in 2010, Valve added an achievement to Portal called Transmission Received. This was followed by an ARG in which people had to decode several codes outputted by the radios across the game. How exactly were they decoded? Through SSTV, or short scan television. So, my first guess was to use exactly that. Only problem being, the radios were quiet. I'll keep you all updated with the situation, but I need to figure out how the radios work first and if they actually output anything. Oh, shit. Alright, so let's unpack this whole thing. Each night, sometime after 2200, the radios in Half-Life 2 or Gmod start broadcasting encoded SSTV images. These images can be decoded via online decoders, and this results in the images you're seeing now. I've conducted several tests on them, and of course, I've noticed that transmissions cease past 1000, restarting at 2200. Zooming out a little, we start to see the foundations of some kind of cycle forming. First, the triggers become accessible at 1000. In 12 hours, the player must enter a correct combination to gain access to a server of sorts. By 2200, the triggers become inaccessible, thus leading to the second part of the cycle, the nightly part of it. With the radios becoming active, you have 12 hours to gain as much data as possible. Each transmission occurs at a 3-hour difference. Thus, there are about 4 transmissions per night. 2 of them stay consistent. They are specifically the ones that you're seeing now. I've categorized these as call signs. One to welcome the user when the night begins, and one to call off the radio transmissions. This leaves 2 actual images containing useful data per night. At first I thought these were codes, but all measures of decoding them failed. Thus, I've taken a different approach to investigating these. What if they're instructions? Look at the first image. The second image is a bit more tricky, but I've got it nailed. I think. The third image is kinda weird. It's a still frame from a dev screen from Half-Life 2. I interpret this as a kill command. Finally, the last image. Now, we have the commands. But in which order are they? I've seen these images broadcasted in different orders for a couple of days now. Since the 29th of October, I've been looking out for new images, but 2 each night is kinda small and insignificant. What's more, they've been popping up in different orders. The order that I showed you all in here is just the one that I received them first in. In total, there are about 6 commands, which leads to a staggering amount of combinations that I won't even try to calculate. So we're left with only one option. Try to figure out any clues whatsoever to the order of these. I know this might sound kinda disappointing, and believe me, I'm disappointed too, but I'm kind of stuck here. I've only really managed to find one of these images orders in the whole thing, that one being image 3. In the Voidfall tutorial by Durkadus, there is a brief section at the beginning where he types in the kill command in the console, and then he goes ahead and does the whole falling thing. So image 3 is most likely the last one. I haven't really found anything other than that yet. I'll look out for more clues, and yeah, hopefully I'll be back in a bit. I haven't tried sending an email to Well, that. I mean, it's not a literary masterpiece, but it's the best I can do without giving away too much. Geez, that was fast. This is clearly some bot they have running or something. I've been focusing on researching the portal ARG that I talked about earlier. Transmission received, that one. And I found an interesting lead. A BBS network. You see, in the beginning part of the ARG, fans had to access a BBS network online in order to download certain files or progress the ARG in some way. For those who haven't heard of a BBS, it's basically a network for, I guess, sharing files or data online. And to access one of these networks, you need a number, kind of like a phone number. Looking at our email address, there are quite a few numbers there, and converting that into a BBS format, we're left with this. And what's even more shocking is that that's a valid address, one that requires a password. They really got this thing secured and encrypted. Except, let's take a look at the email again. Now that we've removed the numbers, we're left with this. And if we enter that, let's go through this step by step, because as you can tell, there's a lot to unpack here. First, as you can see, most of these are inaccessible and permanently removed from the file dump. Still, we're left with 3 files to look through, and one of them contains some really important information for us. And that one being number 1. As you can see, or I guess hear, these are sounds we've heard before. However, this time, they're in order, and so we can construct our cheat code. We'll get to this later, but I really want to show you what the other files contain. I'm not sure what to make of most of what happened yesterday. It's clear to me that the last note was not written by Valve. All of the other official ones have that property of Valve thing written before the start. I wish I could get access to the rest of those entries. I guess there's still a way to progress forward. We have our code, now we just need to use it. Hello, so I thought I'd record this and take a little break from investigating. Even if it seems like we haven't made all that much progress, it's still been like 2 or so weeks of me almost non-stop doing this whole thing. Call it an unhealthy obsession, but this is fascinating. As for an update to what happened yesterday, pad.sdk remains as it always did, a black tab. However, now we have access to a couple of commands. The info command displays something very similar to what the BBS network displayed. Many errors and TBD entries. However, we can extract at least a couple of things from this. 1. Some kind of reference to pattern seekers, watchers, and impersonators, maybe old server roles. 2. This place has been around for a while, at least like 20 years or so. In the BBS network we see references to 2004, 2010, and 2007 with the forum thread. It looks like this place was frequently maintained or visited. 3. Something happened here that determined this place to be shut down. The last patch was on December 27, 2010, and yet again, it's clearly not written by Valve. The rest of the changelog entries are inaccessible. Turcaros really seems like a major figure in this whole conundrum. As for the pause commands, console doesn't work. Maybe chat. Oh well, it looks like I got something here. Are these coordinates? Look, I know I'd said I'd take a break, but I've been mapping the void for a bit now, and I feel like I need to get this done before anything. I'll promise I'll be back with actual investigation updates and try to find some new leads, but for now, I'm just looking for consistency, I guess. I need to get this map done, and we'll continue in a bit. Well, uh, I'm done, I guess. I'll say that. It's been a little rough in real life, but hey, the void's always here. At least I can pass the time every now and then. I've been thinking recently about some things, like, why is this thing here to begin with? And then, while I was looking to some data, it dawned on me. The void's been accumulating maps for years now. How does it do that? Does it have access to some server or what? I think this is the next order of business for investigation. I want to test a couple of things. Well, what do we have here? It really has been accumulating maps over the years. Once again, I was looking through some data, and I found a strange pattern. Take a look at this. Notice anything? Forget about the X and Z values for a moment. Take a look at the Y values. Still nothing? Okay then, let me add the compile dates of these maps. Or basically when the game's released. The pattern I'm hinting at here is simple. Notice how as the maps get older, the Y value gets smaller, and as they get newer, the Y value rises. And of course, this stays consistent with other maps. So in the end, I guess the way to progress is either to look for more patterns like this, or brute force the void. After a couple of days of mostly planning and deciding on how I want to do this, I've decided that I'm going to brute force it. I want to know an approximate estimate of how big the void is. So imagining it's some kind of cuboid, to find its area we need its height, length, and width. So how do we find those? Well, we'll more or less approximate them. We need to figure out how much a unit is, and we have exactly the two perfect maps for that. Test.bsp and GM-born, made exactly 1 year apart. Subtracting their y values and approximating the final number, we get this. So the height of the void is 20 times that, around 17 million. Repeating the same process but with two other maps, we get that the width is 19 million and the length is 28.9 million. So in the end, the approximate area of the known void is, well, this, which is roughly, yeah, that, with at least some margin of error. I had a thought last night. I couldn't really sleep all that well. Yeah, I wanted to get back to the computer and I guess fall. For some reason, I thought about the void's edge. Like, is there even an end to it? Once again, I want to find out. Okay, so I have another idea. What about 000? What is there? Is there even something there? I know, pretty dumb idea, but in the end, what do I have to lose? Maybe my computer. If last time was 15 hours of falling, then damn, how long is the journey to 000 gonna be? Okay, so look, I've decided to postpone it until later or sometime in late November or early December. I'll have more time then until I decide to actually start doing it. I guess I'll have to explore another thing I have been working on. It all really started when I was messing around with source mods and pad.sdk. I noticed that if I made a map pack in which we had to switch maps, pad.sdk would respond in a strange way. First, the main source game would freeze. Then, pad.sdk would respond in chat. If you left it like this, eventually it would execute the kill server command and restart the game. However, what was happening on pad.sdk while this was going on is fascinating. The player pawn was moving rapidly through the void. It was truly shocking how fast it got there, and even more interesting, how it seemed to sync with the source game. Just as pad.sdk was converging in on the map, the source game crashed. If we could get around the kill server command, this system could be used to travel the source void. I think whatever the void is, it had something to do with maps. I mean, just look at how close all the Half-Life 2 and Portal 2 maps are. Not to mention CSGO and even Gmod. Whatever this place is, I'm ready to figure it out.
Ammunition depleted.
Damn, that was it? Really? I was that close? Something's kinda eating at me. I don't know, but the void kinda creeps me out a bit. I know, ARG, spooky black figures in the corner, but really, this thing's weird, dude. It's so huge, I don't even know its full size yet. There's something hiding here. Why would it I need to see this? To see the void somehow. Shit. Shit. What the fuck am I saying? Look, I'm a little tired, but each chance I get to lay off and just do other things is just completely thrown out the window by some new discovery or new thought or idea. Am I really so deep into this? I'm questioning if I should go further now or at least distance myself a bit from this. It's been a month since I started investigating, and while it may not seem impressive, I think it really is something. I think I'm kinda overreacting. As long as I keep in touch with some people, it should be fine. I don't know what I'm even looking for, but at least I found something. The answer to one of my questions, that being, am I continuing this? Yes. Hey, so this is gonna be more or less like a tech demo for something that me and my friend have been working on for a bit. So, I've been looking at the Paradise Decay and I found that while there are no textures, as we've seen, there is some map geometry out there. And so you might be wondering, if there are no textures, wouldn't that just render as a missing texture? Well, no. Apparently, the geometry of Paradise Decay is rendered with this very bare bones black grid texture. One that just so happens to blend in with the dark void. So, if we can't see it, and if Fulbright doesn't work, as we've seen, then we have to resort to another option. External software. My friend's a programmer. He's had lots of experience through the years, and I thought that, along with my subpar source engine knowledge, we can make a working version of a LiDAR program, similar to that horror trend a couple of years ago. Sadly, it's gonna be way more limited given the circumstances. So here's the first test of this thing. Just keep in mind, this is not the actual source void. It's a dark room, only really basic geometry present. I've tried as best that I can to recreate the environment there, but there's no telling how LiDAR will act whenever we try it out in there. And as you can see, it works. And yeah, these are the limitations I was talking about earlier. You can only take still frames every couple of seconds. Now for this snap, it works a little better due to its small size, but yet again, the void it's huge. LiDAR works perfectly in the source void. I can set up a macro to be able to quickly take photos of the void now. With long range stuff. The client is pretty unstable because we've essentially given steroids to the original one. It has a huge range of rendering, so big that it can lag or crash the app. For this to work, we've also changed how rendering works. The way it does, I guess it's kind of like a thermal camera. If it detects geometry in the distance, it displays them with a wider color, and where it doesn't, it's fully dark. Did those move? I'm ready for something big. It's gonna take a lot of prep, but I'm already working on it. The void needs a remap. Recently, I've been pointing LiDAR to the sky, and it has returned some very interesting results. There are things out there, things that aren't maps. These are fucking weird. They're structures that appear consistently, but they show up in so many shapes and sizes. Once more, take a look at these. They're not islands. No, they're stars. What the hell is this? Hello. So I've kept the whole plan up until this point kind of vague, so that I can better explain what's going on once I myself had a better picture of this whole thing. By using multiple computers that all run parallel SDK and LiDAR, we can essentially map around 90% of the local void area. How exactly? If we connect two maps with ETBVT and make periodic LiDAR scans, we can receive back images of the void. We then check these images and the coordinates of certain structures, and we can get a very rough, approximate layout of the void. My friend's currently working on a way for LRVR to display the coordinates of structures just from knowing the player's location and a couple of other things. I'm working on the hardware side. I need as many computers as possible to run Padon SDK and LiDAR. Did a little research on what can happen if you leave your computer on for long times, and yeah, it's not pretty. Even if it might affect some performance, I've decided to swap out my RAM and stuff for some older parts, so that if those fry, I still have my better ones ready to go. Also, I've gotten some external hard drives and USBs to just fill out with void footage and LiDAR scans. As for the house, yeah, I did some very needed cleaning and organizing for this whole ordeal. Everything is ready to go. I'm a little. How can I say? I'm kind of hesitant, you know? It's weird, but What can I do? It's too late to really change anything at this point. Hopefully, all will be well, and see you later, guys. Wish me luck.
Землю зерна просят дождя. Им нужен дождь, разрежь мою грудь, посмотри мне внутрь, ты увидишь, там все горит огнем. Через день будет поздно, через час будет поздно, через миг будет уже не встать. Если к дверям не подходят ключи, вышиби двери плечом. Мама, мы все тяжело больны, мама, я знаю, мы все сошли с ума.